Are you satisfied with your understanding of sustainability? If you are not, imagine a journey together, a pluralistic one, with academia, innovators, startups, NGOs, all looking for solutions to the greatest challenge of our time. My name is Samuele Tini, and this is the Sustainability Journey.
Welcome to another episode, and today I'm very pleased to discuss an important topic, a topic that is now on the mouth of everybody: technology, sustainability, the interaction of the two. And we are doing with an expert, a professor of the Hamad Bin Khalifa University in Qatar, Aiman Erbad. Welcome, Aiman, to our podcast. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, Sam. It's great to be with you here on this very excellent podcast.
Your research is wonderful. The work you're doing there at the Bin Khalifa University is at the forefront, of putting technology and, of course, sustainability. But usually, before that, we ask people a bit about themselves, their research journey, how you have become an expert on this topic.
In my undergraduate studies, around the last year, I started to get more into research and more into things that will have some influence on people. So one concept that was very intriguing to me was this idea of ubiquitous computing. So the idea there, and we are talking now in the early 2000s, people were mostly interacting with desktops and laptops. So nobody had this visualization like now. Most of computing is happening on sensors and very limited devices. So the idea that computing will be anywhere, everywhere was very intriguing to me at that point. So now, if we think about this vision of having everyday objects communicate and do useful tasks, they try to automate the environment around us. This was my main interest, and one of the biggest motivation for this scenario is really building smart environments that are more sustainable, environments that can and will make energy and other resources consumed less while having the users do what they want to do. So in my undergraduate, I did a thesis or a senior project. It was about how to make these environments more safe using programming language concepts. It was in the University of Washington with Craig Chambers, and he's a very nice guy, and I was introduced very gently to some of these topics. Then I went to my master, and it was also carrying the same theme. I went to University of Essex, Colchester. They had a very nice, unique, smart environment and computational intelligence group. So we had the smart apartment where you get a lot of data collected about the user behavior in that environment, and you build AI techniques to make this environment better. So my project was a voice system that can be used by the environment residents to put some rules in this rule-based system. Then in the PhD, I got more into sensors and networking and real-time systems. And built a little bit of foundation and cloud and networking. And that was really when I saw that this type of networking and systems and communication, in addition to Internet of Things, will be able to build those envisioned ubiquitous computing, smart environments that will be better for all of us.
And thank you so much, Aiman. It's really a journey where you have developed also the purpose and the work. And you have mentioned the keywords, the Internet of Things, the interconnectivity, the artificial intelligence. How these are the basis for the next industrial revolution.
If we think about this concept of industrial revolution, I think at the core of it is the idea of automation. So you will be in a factory, for example. The factory will have a lot of sensors that will be vision sensors, cameras, there will be temperature sensors, there will be a lot of sensors also in the machinery. And instead of having manual labor risk their lives in some situation, instead of doing a lot of repetitive industrial tasks through low paying jobs, you will have the capability to collect information, as I told you, in those sensing, store this information, process it, and do some decisions in real time. That's the automation I'm talking about. And it's not only the factory, it's the smart health systems where you collect information about the patient health in real time, process the data, send it to the care providers, health-wise or family. Also, you will have smart homes, and this is the important one, smart homes or smart buildings, where you will have the data captured about them, and then this will be this Internet of Things layer where those sensors talk to each other and talk to the back end to make sure that you can optimize. So this is what I have in mind. Other technologies also that can be used, for example, is drones. We have drones now that can be used for agriculture products to put the seeds. You have drones that can do monitoring of large environments that do not have the right infrastructure. So that also can be part of automating the surveillance. Also, we have other technologies like satellite communication. So because now we have these sensors deployed everywhere, but in some areas we have a big digital gap. We don't have the same infrastructure like we have in Doha here, 5G everywhere. We have areas where you do not have those towers, you do not have the fiber. So this satellite communication, low power, will be one way to close this digital gap and really have this sustainability task across a lot of areas that have not seen. Also, one thing that I will close with is the cloud, having the right back-end infrastructure. So having access to places where you save the data, and maybe sometimes having access to places where you process the data close to the issue. We call it edge computing. Those infrastructures are very necessary also to do the data analytics, the AI tasks that will automate this environment and that will make long-term decision to optimize these environments. So if I were to summarize, the sensing capability of IoT, whether from fixed platforms, sensors, or flying sensors and robots and UAVs, the idea of communication infrastructure, 5G satellite, and the convergence of this new communication, and the back-end cloud edge computing with the AI logic that can process this data and make the right decision will be the bedrock of this industrial revolution.
A great future then is expecting us, and then that is something that now is development, and we see it even now slowly, even here in Kenya, coming up. You know, you have discussed the Internet of Things, the cloud, the sensoring, the communication, this interconnection. How this new technology, how this revolution, this process can be an ally to solve the pressing issue for our planet. So we are talking about the sustainability, the climate change, the others.
If we are talking about, and Qatar is really interested in marine environment, for example. Let's talk about marine environment. Now, in those marine environments, with all those ships going to bring a lot of things to the country and moving the oil and natural gas, you would be actually interested to monitor something like the health of this environment. So what can be done and what is being done now is we have those sometimes ships that are for environmental purposes, that are very much big sensors. They have a lot of sensing capabilities for the water, for the heat, for the depth, for the coral reefs. And you can have this mobile sort of sensor going around the coastline and trying regularly to monitor what is happening, what is the effect of this traffic, is there any pollution that is increasing, and try over time to collect this data over long periods of time, process it to help the decision makers put the right policy for the marine environment and for maximization of our ports and coastal line. And another example is let's talk about the air pollution. Qatar is one of the biggest countries that have facilities to extract and do the initial processing for the natural resources, oil and gas. So it is of our interest to make sure that we monitor the effect of this big industrial complex on the air quality. What is the level of pollutant, what is the CO2 level, and recalibrate from the data that we get from the energy companies and the data that we can monitor through drones, through mobile monitoring stations, and through fixed monitoring stations. So if you think about it, monitoring our coastline, monitoring our air space, and making sure things are not affecting the environment will be very critical. And this is just the monitoring. You can also use this technology for to counter the effect. If you think about precision agriculture, you are now talking about looking at agriculture that will use the minimum amount of water, and water is a very scarce resource in Qatar, to make sure you have the highest impact. So you can develop techniques to measure the water humidity and levels in the soil and try to really design these systems using drones, using different type of technology to give the right level of water and maybe the right level of those chemicals that will make the health of the plants good. So you want also to make sure in your interventions, when you are putting solutions to maximize your food, minimize your energy and resource consumption, to push these technologies forward and automate as much as possible from this process.
You can see now the practicalities and how you work, how you can start solving and putting at use the technology. I know you are using an English expression, an awful lot of research now at the university, and you are at the forefront of many innovative projects. I know, can you share a bit of, for our audience, what is going on at the Hamad Bin Khalifa University and then your work there?
So we have so many research projects related to energy, environment, food nexus, related also to some of my work with Internet of Things and cloud. So we have a very nice project with Iberdrola. It's a Spanish energy company. And this work is also with the University of Salamanca, Hamad Bin Khalifa University, funded by the Qatar National Research Fund. And in this project, we are developing an intelligent edge computing based building energy management system. So in that project, this building energy management system is a system that captures all of the sensory information about a building using those IoT sensors, temperature, presence, light intensity, electricity consumption, humidity, maybe garbage level, as well as a lot of these environmental things that will affect the energy consumption in the building. So this information is gathered and from these IoT sensors, and the goal there is to provide the same level of service. And here we talk about maybe AC, maybe heat. There's a lot of services. We want to provide these services to the user while we optimize the energy consumption, but without sacrificing the user comfort, because it has to be also sustainable in that way. Because we can save a lot of energy by making users unhappy. That balance is where it really can help us have these solutions become mainstream. So if you talk about very rudimentary things, scheduling the open and close of the AC or the heater, closing blinds, making sure anything that is happening around the house that leads to energy loss, like open windows, is notified to the user. And if you look at more complex things in this environment, our goal is to understand the depth of the user behavior using these AI algorithms. And this can be easy maybe if you have one user and one system, but if you have these multiple systems that use energy and you have an environment with multiple users living together with conflicting behaviors and preferences, or an environment where users move and go, so the change in the usage pattern is complex. This environment requires really good knowledge of AI and good way to capture the information. So this is the type of environment we want. We also, in this project, wanting to engage the user positively. It's not just understanding their behavior and automating everything. It's also bringing them into the process. There is a branch of knowledge now called explainable AI, where it's not just a black box that just does automate your life. You want the user to understand why things happen this way so they can maybe correct. And you also want to engage them with hints. You want to have friendly interfaces that will give them the right hint and clues so they can also know what they can change in their behavior to make sure that they will go for this end goal of sustainable low energy environment. So this is a very nice project. We have all the technologies, edge computing to process the data close to the user, protect the privacy of the information. We have communication systems here, wireless. We have AI, distributed AI that runs in the edge and in the cloud. It's a very promising project with a good industrial partner and multiple universities to push forward the direction. The second project, but I will not spend a lot of time, it's related to satellite communication. The idea there is to build communication systems, as I told you, to open up the space of communication. So people who are in areas with low infrastructure, people who are suffering from this digital gap, now will have access to communication through this satellite. So our goal there is to develop the chip, the receiver and the communication chip from the ground and in the satellite. We have a cube satellite we will launch, and a lot of the use scenarios that we envision are related to environmental monitoring and things that will allow low cost monitoring of large spaces through this innovative communication infrastructure with satellite.
Thank you so much, Aiman, to give us these wonderful studies. The first one, it's really important because that is where a lot of energy, a lot of the battle for sustainability, for sustainable home, sustainable life, and technology can help. And I liked how the user can get feedback and improve. And the second one also, I think, is really interesting because one of the problems that we have is the monitoring of large spaces, the ensuring compliance, especially in the fight for deforestation and degradation of land. And with the monitoring of satellites, that will be crucial, to ensure that those areas are protected and work. So this is something that one of the use that you can, I'm really thankful for your wonderful job. And I'm sure everybody now is getting more curious like me. We want more, we want more. I will ask you, another question to enlarge a bit. You are in the Gulf region, which is one of the highest growing areas, and innovation is there. And we had the expo, we'll have big events also. The eyes of the world are there, and you see the great innovations that are in the region. So we want to ask, to enlarge a bit the perspective, to ask about the sustainability in the Gulf and also some of the work we are doing in the region and how to foster the sustainability.
So Qatar is, there are very huge changes that happened in the last maybe 5 to 6 years, the climate change agenda and the commitment that Qatar has due to the different treaties and the different engagements with the international community. Qatar has now had, at least for the last 3 to 4 years, invested heavily to build the right infrastructure to honor the commitments and be part of this global climate change and sustainability agenda. So, like this year, we had the establishment of the Qatar Ministry of Environment and Climate Change. So, part of the mandate now of the government, which was there before, but now it's becoming more of a focus point, is to really work on the sustainability and climate change issue, put the right policies, and put the right business models. For the last few years, some of the government officials have established the funding necessary, the incentives in terms of land space and some subsidies to allow small and medium businesses to invest in the recycling of material from waste, to open up to use technology like cloud, and in the fight against deforestation and the fight of ensuring things are clean and energy efficient. So this has been happening recently, and Qatar also is invested heavily in the last few years in the smart infrastructure. So if we are thinking about heat, there is a lot of buildings here in Qatar Foundation, and part of the facilities that will be used for the World Cup that has very sophisticated heating and AC systems to make sure that there is comfort level that is acceptable to allow people to utilize this space, but also energy efficient. This is happening. This was not the case 10 years ago, maybe, but it's becoming much more important. Also, investment into research. There's a lot of research, as I told you, in Qatar University, in Hamad Bin Khalifa University, and in other smaller local universities. In environment, we have the Institute of Energy and Environment in Hamad Bin Khalifa. There is the Environment Science Center in Qatar University for Marine Science. There is Material Science, the Center of Advanced Materials in Qatar University, and here in the College of Science Engineering and other institutes. So there's a big momentum now. And what I see also is people from different disciplines. Me from ICT, my friend there in the sustainability division in the same college, another friend from social science trying to understand the user behavior. So this is happening a lot now in Qatar here, and I think globally, but we are really happy to see it in Qatar because it's a very new thing for the region and for us also here locally.
It's great to see, all the how this movement for sustainability is reaching, and also, and what I liked a lot is the holistic nature. It's not in silos. You put people from the sustainability field, people from the tech side, people from the social science to bring together and to deliver project. And it's really important that Qatar is at the forefront, as many other countries. But I see, the work and especially the big research that you are doing. And I want to ask you the final question about your message, your call for action to the audience from your research perspective, your work, what you can say to the people that are listening to us all over the world.
To be honest, I would like to use this very nice platforms with very diverse audience to say that each one, me from computer science, communication perspective, some people who are social scientists, some other people who are students, but they have access to big communities. So there is for everybody this fight against this deforestation or pollutants or the high consumption of resources is a big fight, and it's not gonna be really a success for all of us unless everybody feels and believes that they can contribute whatever they can, whether through their communities, through their networks, through the science that they do, through the businesses. One of the biggest areas in entrepreneurship is the area of sustainable entrepreneurship. People who think about these problems not only as social task, but as places where they can make money and the right business model to contribute. So with this contribution from everywhere, I think we can make a big difference.
Thank you so much. And we are trying also here with these our small means in the podcast to give our small contribution and to make voices heard. And you are one of the leader. You're doing a lot of work in Qatar and also in the region, in the entire region, the work that you're doing with other states. So you're doing a great work. And I'm very, very pleased to want this wonderful episode. And I'm sure maybe in the future, we can even have a second episode to see where your research and the work is expanded and which result have you achieved. So thank you so much, Aiman, for your time.
Thank you, Sam. Really great work. I'm very grateful to be with you today and to use this platform to discuss these very good issues.
Thank you so much.
Are you satisfied after this wonderful episode? Let's continue together our sustainability journey.